And now,
breaking news.
Ahoy, the news.
news
From the Weird Wire.
News from the Weird Wire. And we've got some weird ones. Cats may live 9 lives, but as far as we know, humans only have the one. Perhaps that's why 29-year-old Oliver Widger decided to spend his sailing to Hawaii alongside his feline companion instead of continuing to work at his job.
Sounds so 2025.
Just gonna quit
I'm
my
going to sail to
job.
Hawaii and just not work.
So the Associated Press reports Widger quit his managerial job at a tire company in Oregon after receiving a concerning health diagnosis. Despite facing $10,000 in debt, Whittaker liquidated his retirement savings and bought a sailboat with which he planned to travel the world with his cat Phoenix also on board. His first destination was Hawaii. After becoming an online sensation while sharing his story on social media, he and Phoenix arrived in Oahu, greeted by fans and reporters, plus Hawaii Governor Josh Green.
I'm not going to lie. A first-time sea captain
Yeah,
made it to Hawaii.
that's crazy. That's the story.
Yes.
You're grinding at your job all day, and it doesn't really matter how much money you make at this point. Everybody's just trying to do enough to get by, and that just wears you out, Whittaker says, of recent life decisions. It's just the world in a weird place, and I think people have seen that it's possible to break out. Well, he certainly did. Now what's he going to do? Just keep on sailing?
Keep going.
Careful when you get to the, close to China, Vietnam, and all those areas. The sea, what is that? I forget the name of it. There's a little action going on there. Or just head to Australia.
I wouldn't be going back to Oregon.
Right. Right. Well, this is our first entry of the year, Minnesota.
Yes.
Wow. You would think that given they have wings, pigeons would not need to bother with the hassles of commercial air travel. Nevertheless, they didn't stop 2 birds from boarding a recent Delta flight out of Minneapolis-St. Paul. Passenger Tom Kaw tells ABC News that after the aircraft door had been closed, a pigeon was discovered in the cabin. It was removed shortly thereafter by baggage handlers, and the flight resumed in taxiing process while readying for takeoff. However, a second pigeon was soon discovered, forcing the plane to cancel its takeoff and return to the gate. It's got to be the most disappointing news you'll ever get, right? When you got all that anxiety, anticipation for takeoff and wanting to get where you're going, and then turn around and we're going back to the gate.
When was the last time you were on an airplane?
Oh, a few years ago.
They're generally full.
Right?
How do you miss 2 pigeons?
Probably shorthanded like everyone else.
Wouldn't you think a passenger would have said, hey, there's a pigeon underneath the seat?
Are we taking this pigeon too or not? Just that last we didn't.
I don't get it.
Once that pigeon was removed and the plane refueled, plane finally took off, albeit behind schedule. When the plane was finally ready for takeoff, a flight attendant asked that everyone on board check under their seats and in their bags for any possible bird stowaways, which drew laughter from the passengers. Yes, it's funny, but seriously, please check for birds, the attendant said. The other day, because we have pigeons here, right?
Yes.
They were all hanging out at the down at the crossing there. Cuts between the road to take you out to go to highway. You had to Cass Lake, Paul Bunyan Drive, right? And then this one here, Washington 197. You know, the car wash is on there.
Mm-hmm.
You cross the tracks.
Yeah.
Right there was like 13 pigeons just hanging out right there at the crossing. I don't know if they're...
What else is a pigeon going to do?
I didn't know that. I guess they do hang out. You see them in train depots and train stations on movies on TV.
It's because there's some old lady throwing stale breadcrumbs at them.
Well, there's no stale breadcrumbs, but I don't know if they were mesmerized by the metal there that's, for the crossing for vehicles on the side there. If there are bugs or something in there.
You sure gave an awful lot of consideration
I did.
and
I was
thought
like,
to
why
these
would
pigeons.
all these pigeons just be hanging at this railroad crossing?
Did you pull over and rubberneck or
no,
what?
then I was looking in the rearview mirror, and they were just people were driving by, and they were just kind of hopping back, and then I was watching them for a while as I approached. And strange birds we have here in Minnesota, pigeons anyway, getting on planes, hanging out at train crossings. Weird. If a marine mammal unexpectedly shows up in your neighborhood, a Navy SEAL team may not help much, but you can turn to a literal SEAL team. And that's what happened when a lost elephant seal flopped onto the streets of a residential area in Gordons Bay, South Africa. The Cape of Good Hope SPCA responded to the situation and asked that everyone please avoid this area to help us give the seal the space and calm it needs while we carry out the rescue. And you think I was putting too much time into those pigeons?
Well, pigeons can go wherever they'd like. How close is this road to the water?
Yeah. Whenever I hear about seals and walruses and all that, and they're on city streets, I always think about their little flippers getting all scratched up and
You need to spend way less time thinking
poor
of animals.
things. Well, that's got to hurt. The rescue plan is currently in action in Gordons Bay to help the sub-adult male elephant seal safely return to his ocean home, the organization said. The situation is under control, and we're now waiting for a wildlife vet to arrive and safely sedate the seal for transport. Well, they take their seals seriously there at Gordons Bay, South Africa. Rightfully so.
How long can a seal live out of water?
Were they just spraying it with a hose, or? That's a good question. It's an elephant seal, so.
And literally, who built this road right next to the ocean?
That's a good question for the old Google. Poor seal. That's news from the Weird Wire.